On October 3, 2025, the world watched as one of hip-hop's most powerful moguls stood before a federal judge to learn his fate. Sean "Diddy" Combs, the man who built a $400 million empire from scratch, who shaped the sound of modern music, who partied with presidents and princes, was sentenced to 50 months in federal prison. But here's what nobody's talking about. This isn't just about prison time. This is about the complete dismantling of a legacy. This is about what happens when power, unchecked for decades, finally meets consequences. Today, we're breaking down exactly what Diddy's 50-month sentence really means, not just for him, but for his empire, his family, and the music industry that he helped create. Let's dive in. To understand where we are, we need to understand how we got here. Sean Combs wasn't convicted of the charges everyone expected. In a split verdict that stunned legal experts, the jury acquitted him of the most serious charges, racketeering and sex trafficking. But they found him guilty on 2 counts that would change everything. 2 counts of transportation for the purposes of prostitution under the Mann Act, a federal law from 1910 that criminalizes transporting anyone across state lines for prostitution or other immoral purposes. The evidence centered on 2 women, his ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, who took the stand 8.5 months pregnant, and another woman known only as Jane. Both women testified about years of control, manipulation, and being transported to various locations for what prosecutors called freak-offs, drug-fueled encounters that Diddy allegedly orchestrated and sometimes recorded. On sentencing day, Judge Aaron Subramanian handed down 50 months, 4 years and 2 months in federal prison. With credit for the 13 months Diddy has already spent in Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, one of the worst facilities in America, he'll serve approximately 3 more years. The judge also imposed a $500,000 fine, the maximum allowed, and ordered 5 years of supervised release once he gets out. Release date? May 8th, 2028. But that date is just the beginning of Diddy's punishment, not the end. Diddy's legal team has requested that he serve his time at FCI Fort Dix in New Jersey, a low-security federal facility about an hour from Philadelphia. It's closer to his family, has drug rehabilitation programs, and is light years better than where he's been held. But here's the reality. Even a low-security federal prison isn't what you think. Fort Dix is still a prison. There are no private cells, no designer clothes, no personal chefs or security teams. Diddy will wake up when guards tell him to, eat what they serve him, and spend his days in a world where his name and his money mean nothing. For a man who's spent decades controlling every aspect of his environment, this will be psychological torture. Let's be real. Diddy is 55 years old. He spent the last 30 years as one of the most powerful men in entertainment. He throws parties that define eras. He makes phone calls that change careers. Now, he'll be prisoner number 904900054, standing in line for meals, following orders from corrections officers who probably grew up listening to his music. The psychological impact of this kind of fall can't be overstated. Studies show that high-profile inmates often struggle the most with incarceration because of the dramatic loss of status and control. Depression, anxiety, and identity crisis are common. Diddy will have plenty of time to think about his choices. Plenty of time to realize that the empire he built over 3 decades is crumbling while he watches from behind bars. Let's talk numbers. In 2023, Forbes estimated Diddy's net worth at $800 million, making him one of the richest men in hip-hop. Today, that number has been cut in half to approximately a $400 million, and it's about to get worse. Here's what's already happened. Revolt TV. Diddy was forced to divest his stake in the media company he founded. Television deals. Canceled across the board. Endorsements. Gone. Brand partnerships. Terminated. Real estate holdings. Some properties are being liquidated to pay legal fees. And here's what's coming. Federal prosecutors have made it clear they're seeking asset forfeiture. That means the government could seize properties, cash, and business interests connected to his criminal activity. Civil lawsuits are piling up too. We're talking hundreds of millions in potential damages from multiple plaintiffs who are now emboldened by his conviction. The businesses that remain. Diddy still has assets. His Bad Boy Entertainment catalog, his stake in Ciroc vodka partnerships, real estate holdings, publishing rights. But here's the problem. A convicted felon running a business empire from prison isn't exactly a winning formula. Partners will distance themselves. Deals will fall through. The brand value, which was always tied to Diddy's personal image as a winner, as untouchable, is now permanently tarnished. Bad Boy Entertainment, the label that launched the careers of the notorious B.I.G., Faith Evans, and Maze, will forever be associated with its founder's criminal conviction. The civil lawsuits. And we haven't even talked about the civil cases. Multiple lawsuits are pending, and Diddy's conviction makes these cases significantly easier for plaintiffs to win. In civil court, the burden of proof is lower, and his guilty verdict can be used as evidence against him. Legal experts estimate he could be facing judgments totaling hundreds of millions of dollars over the next few years. Let's say Diddy serves his time, keeps his head down, and walks out of prison in May 2028. He's not free, not even close. According to court documents released in October 2025, Diddy faces 5 years of supervised release, with conditions so strict they essentially amount to continued punishment. He must report regularly to a probation officer, submit to drug and alcohol testing, complete outpatient substance abuse treatment, undergo mental health counseling, take prescribed medications as ordered, complete a domestic violence intervention program, submit to home searches without warning, allow monitoring of his finances, never possess firearms or dangerous weapons, not associate with known felons without permission, one slip-up, one failed drug test, one missed meeting, one unapproved trip, and he goes straight back to prison. There's been speculation, fueled by rumors and social media, that a future presidential pardon or commutation could cut Diddy's sentence short. Trump's name has been floated. But let's be realistic. Federal prostitution convictions aren't typically the kind of cases that get clemency. Even if he did get out early, then what? History shows us that some celebrities have come back from prison. Martha Stewart served 5 months and rebuilt her empire. Robert Downey Jr. turned his life around after addiction and incarceration and became Iron Man. But those were different circumstances, different charges, different public perceptions. Diddy's conviction involved abuse, control, and exploitation of women. In the Me Too era, that's not something the public or the industry is quick to forgive or forget. Here's the brutal truth. Diddy's reputation is permanently destroyed. The man who was once invited to the White House, who sat front row at fashion weeks, who hosted the most exclusive parties in the world, that man is gone. Even if he serves his time and completes his supervised release, he'll be a registered federal offender. Background checks will show his conviction. Business partners will hesitate. Banks will scrutinize his financial moves. Most importantly, the culture has moved on. The music industry that Diddy helped build no longer tolerates the kind of behavior he was convicted of. Artists speak out. Victims are believed. Accountability matters. Diddy's fall from grace is more than just one man's story. It's a reckoning for an entire industry. For decades, powerful men in hip-hop operated with impunity. The parties, the excesses, the rumors, everyone knew, but nobody said anything. Power protected power. But Diddy's conviction sends a clear message. That era is over. The industry is watching. Other powerful figures who thought they were untouchable are suddenly feeling vulnerable. Victims who stayed silent for years are finding their voices. This is bigger than Diddy. This is about changing a culture that allowed this behavior to flourish for so long. What can we learn from Diddy's downfall? First, no amount of money or fame puts you above the law. Diddy thought his power would protect him. It didn't. Second, control and manipulation always have an expiration date. The women he allegedly controlled for years ultimately became the witnesses who convicted him. Third, your legacy is built on how you treat people, not just what you achieve. Diddy built an empire, but he'll be remembered for his crimes. We can't end this discussion without acknowledging the courage of Cassie Ventura and the woman known as Jane. Both women testified despite enormous pressure, despite knowing the world would scrutinize every word. Cassie received a $20 million settlement from her civil lawsuit, but this was never just about money. Her testimony, given while 8.5 months pregnant, helped ensure that Diddy would face consequences. These women turned their trauma into testimony, their pain into power, their silence into justice. So what does a 50-month sentence mean for Diddy? It means the end of an empire built over 30 years. It means financial ruin, with hundreds of millions lost and more bleeding out through lawsuits and legal fees. It means years in prison followed by years of restrictions that will control every aspect of his life. The ultimate irony for a man who made his fortune by controlling others. It means a legacy forever tarnished, a name that will always be associated with conviction, abuse, and downfall. But most importantly, it means that consequences finally caught up with someone who thought they never would. Diddy's story is a cautionary tale about power without accountability, success without conscience, and the ultimate price of treating people as disposable. The sentence is 50 months, but the consequences? Those will last forever. What do you think? Will Diddy ever recover from this? Or is his empire finished for good? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown valuable, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that matter. This is the fall of an icon. This is the price of power. This is what happens when consequences finally catch up.